back to English then. Then we have also in the audience we'll have also some divers, and I'll introduce them to you later on. So, good afternoon. So we are going to talk about a topic that, as Alberto said, sounds a bit techy, but it's not. Actually, it's very important. It's growing as far as importance is concerned in every field. So I will start with asking Ciro and Rob to introduce themselves and tell what they're doing and why they're related to the big data topic.
Good afternoon. I'm Ciro Cattuto. I'm the Deputy Scientific Director of the ISI Foundation. The ISI Foundation is it's a rather strange animal in the Italian landscape. It's a privately funded fundamental research institution. Originally, it got founded about 30 years ago by the local government, by the Regione, Provincia, and City of Torino. We are based in Torino. We started out from physics as an institute dealing with physics, and then the institute evolved the way the data-driven science evolved over time. So what we do today is mostly actually privately funded by the CRT Foundation, by the Compagnia di San Paolo Foundation, and in large part by the European Commission through research projects. Most of these projects are in the ICT domain, in the ICT in the several umbrellas of the ICT directorates. And a lot of our research deals with extracting value from data, in using data from a number of systems, from systems that entangle human and social factors in order to extract meaning and to use this meaning to forecast. For example, to be very concrete, we build predictive frameworks for pandemics that allow basically agencies and public health bodies to base their decisions on real-time data merged into predictive models. So big data comes naturally into play because what's happening recently is that a lot of the techno-social systems that shape our lives, the mobile phones you have in your pockets, the GPS of your phone, the car you will drive, the browser you use daily, leave a huge wealth of digital traces about your activity. These traces are increasingly more amenable to being machine processed. They're in digital form. They're only traces, but we are getting smarter and smarter in terms of extracting value from this. And their scale is becoming daunting, which is why we actually need to think about big data. But combining state-of-the-art scientific insight into scalable platforms and into data analytics platform really can unlock a huge potential in terms of creating value on top of this.
Rob? Yep.
Hi, I'm Rob Giardina. I'm the Italy lead for Palantir's technical team here in Rome. We're in our first year. We started out in the US as a Silicon Valley software firm originated out of PayPal in the early days of the web. And our special focus is very relevant to big data, but it's not fundamentally a data product. We do make a product. It's a suite of tools that is focused on solving many different kinds of analysis problems. We work with big data, but fundamentally just to solve analysis problems. So many of the tools that you've heard of that have really almost revolutionized big data, all the open source, all the new kinds of databases, the new kinds of search systems, those are very data specific. We're analysis specific, so we bring together technologies like that into a suite of tools that combine visualizations and different kinds of workflows to allow people to solve particularly important data problems. So really, we're in the business of practicing the creation of data systems. We work collaboratively with people who do deep modeling and deep research in how to extract automated patterns. But fundamentally, we believe that our mission is to bring data systems to people in a way that they can immediately use. They can combine all the data that they know that they have access to. We want to make it very, very simple for them to answer any question that they have. So simple questions should be immediately answerable by integrating many of the data sets that they have access to. Deeper questions may require deeper research, and then we go further. But fundamentally, we want to make it possible when you know that your organization has the data and you know that you have an answer somewhere in it, to make that answer come to you very quickly. Our focus in the data side is really as I said, to drive analysis. But what we find is the most important part of our data work is integrating data, pulling data together that fundamentally has always been separated. We feel that more data or deeper analysis is secondary compared to combining multiple kinds of data, looking at things in new dimensions in new ways. Sometimes what you can add from a second data set is an insight that maybe your company or your agency has been struggling with for decades, but suddenly bringing data types together that have never been related can give you a new approach to solve those problems.
So, okay, the question is for both. What's fundamentally different? So why? Because we always have been having big data, right? So what is fundamentally different now that makes this subject be so interesting and be so top of mind?
Yeah,
issue?
I can provide a perspective which is the perspective of a researcher, because our business is really science. It's really I guess this is not. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay, now it works. So what changed recently, and this is really recent, this is like the last 4 years, is that a lot of these data are naturalistically generated. And by that I mean that they are generated and stored and recorded as a side effect of what we do in our daily lives. When we shop, when we use our credit card, when we make a phone call, when we use browser on a mobile phone to perform a search, all of these actions have been there for a long time, but they have become so entangled with the way we live our lives that basically the digital footprint, the digital trail that we leave is now getting closer and closer to what we do. If once, only a digital record maybe of our phone calls was recorded, today the granularity and the resolution of information that is recorded about the activity not only of people but of companies, of institutional bodies, is reaching a scale of sheer size, but at the same time a resolution and a reactivity in time that makes it a digital shadow evolving constantly as the original object moves, in a sense, right? So the fact that it's digital changes everything because it allows us to deploy a number of machine processing-based methods. So we can deploy network analysis, machine learning, data mining. All of the data have been there, but now they're there in real time, at scale, for systems that have societal interest. And this is a game changer.
Yeah, I would second that the data in a sense has always been there, and it is much larger now, and there are many new types. But what has really allowed us to sort of take the same desire we've had for decades and finally make considerably more progress on it is some of the technical tools that have evolved. The open source model has brought us fantastic data processing tools. Google has published many of their approaches, which have been turned into open source tools. And now people can work with tens of terabytes of data with free tools on commodity computers. So this doesn't require anymore an enormous budget and an enormous organized initiative. You can really get started on a very small budget. And I think the other thing that also has led to this is there are many more examples of companies and company cultures that have used data to make decisions. So famously, web analytics came out of Google, and it came out of a few companies that convinced the world that they were making tremendous amounts of money by analyzing small actions on their websites. Amazon is somewhat famous for this, but Google taking it to the rest of the world and showing you how you can look at minute data about how people click and where they spend their time to actually drive revenue, to actually drive change in your business, I think has gained credibility, and now people understand that if you can describe it, which you usually can by looking deeply enough in your data, then you can optimize it. So I think there's a lot more incentive for people to work with this.
So as far as your experience is concerned, do you see some capabilities or new capabilities, new competence, new skills required in order to get value out of this amount of data? Since then I'll get to that with a big dive experience, but it's quite a multidisciplinary area, which is obviously has no leader so far, probably, and still is in an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, I would say that it's an issue of developing an entire new culture. The computational infrastructure are there, the software tools are there. As Rob was mentioning, the open source community gave us a very powerful tool that we can deploy instantly in scalable infrastructures. The data analysis expertise, in a sense, has been there. We've been having analysts for a very long time, right? What we need now is a data culture. And this is something where we can see a gap between the current state of affairs and where we would like to be. We really need a generation of people who are able to act on the basis of data and to ask the right questions based on the data. Getting the answers out is challenging, but somehow we know how to do it. Asking the right questions once you're faced with a certain number of data sets that you can cross-reference, that's an entirely new history. And making decisions on the basis of that, that requires structural changes and is potentially disruptive of many processes that we rely on today. So the challenge here is to develop really an entire culture of data-driven reasoning, decision-making, and on the other side, to further develop the tools and the techniques that make the data actionable.
So I do think that data-driven decision-making is something that people and agencies have to come to understand. Many agencies for many decades, many government institutions have had the role of analyst, someone whose responsibility is to understand a topic. Many agencies, other agencies that don't investigate things, they don't need to have deep scholarship on any issue. They don't yet necessarily have a role for someone who's supposed to understand their data. So understanding that more broadly beyond the original agencies that invented the concept of analyst is the kind of professional role of understanding data, processing it, coming to conclusions, and of course feeding that into a management infrastructure, leadership, government that doesn't necessarily have a seat at the table for someone who's learned something deep in their data. They don't necessarily provide them a leadership role. I think the other interesting thing, and it's very relevant for this conference today, is that data initiatives often happen in either fast-growing startups that are generating tons of data. It's the second phase of any successful startup is to manage the overwhelming success. So data and learning from your company's success and optimizing it is really the genesis of a lot of big data projects. But also in very large companies, very large agencies, they generate a lot of data. They have many archives going back decades. So in many ways, it's a startup to bring all that together. Palantir has a very widespread base of these forward deployed engineers, which is my role. And they're fundamentally out there trying to find a valuable solution, a valuable way of applying very, very large collections of data. And many projects just kind of try to invest in data solutions, but they go off, for unlimited time frames, sometimes unlimited costs. Much better is to take the startup approach to answer a very valuable question, to find that valuable question, and then go into a data project to answer it. And so this skill, this kind of entrepreneur skill, is really very similar both in startups and really succeeding at finding value in data.
Yeah, so that's why we spot the opportunity actually in that field, both as far as, of course, as startups are concerned, because there's a lot to be done at the infrastructural level and in the layers above that. And especially we decided to tackle the problem of competence and skills. So that's why in Turin we decided to take this challenge of this number 0, of this event that we call Big Dive. It was run during the whole month of October, and it ended yesterday. So I would like to have it introduced by a short video, so that I ask to launch the video.
Why I'm here? Big Dive initiative.
I'm from Italy, Switzerland,
Ireland,
I'm Polish, United States,
Iran.
Why am I here? I'm a diver.
I'm sure that big data is the future.
Big data is a new way for things to come.
Big Dive is an educational opportunity.
We have a lot of data. We need to know
how to handle it, how to work with it, and how actually represent it.
You can get a big picture from the big data.
I want to think of it in terms of human-centeredness as well.
Squeezing out the meaning out of it.
Learn how to tell stories more effectively with data.
So yeah, Big Dive is awesome.
So, in order to tell the story, since we had, out of 20 participants, we had 8 different geographies, and actually someone coming from very far. So we have 3 of the divers sitting there. So I would ask you to tell the stories, if you can hand up the mic to the guys over there, so they can tell us why they decided to do that, what they see in big data as an opportunity, and what the experience was like. Over there.
Hi everyone. Well, basically it's because it's for me at least it was in the air. Yeah, I felt I needed to have new tools to understand all the data that I had, for example, to process in my daily work, and I constantly talked about stuff that was big data with friends and colleagues. And I realized I was ready to do that, basically. So when I came to know about Big Dive, I just was subscribed, and it was, how can I tell it? It was like going to gym, basically, and very, very stressing and difficult at times, but very exciting, and I'm very happy to be part of that.
So Kevin made actually the trip back from California to here in order to attend Big Dive. So you can tell about your story and why you decided to come from San Jose to here.
Sure. So hi, I'm Kevin, and long story. I'm trying to summarize it right now. But I used to work for a startup called IFT, and before that I worked for a design company called IDEO. But what happened was in these companies, I'm a software developer. I come face to face with a lot of data, especially at IFT. And suddenly I had so much data to play with, I didn't quite know what to do with it. And I tried a few things, Hadoop and MapReduce and all that stuff. And I realized that I really, really want to dig in and find a way to handle this. And that's the main reason. And timing was right so that I can actually make the trip to Torino, and I'm really, really glad I did this. A month away from your regular work can be a little bit difficult at first, but I really enjoyed it. And so I was able to switch mode, and then that was the main thing, like not worry about work for a little bit, and then come and really dive deep into big data. And I think that was the main reason for coming to Torino, and the fact that you get a month to come to a European city to kind of enjoy the culture, and that was important to me also.
Yeah. Okay. And then someone who left the job, and we also felt kind of responsible for providing opportunities. So Irene also attended the course.
Yes. I quit the job because I was searching for a personal challenge, and I was working in digital marketing, and I was thinking that was the time to manage more big data and to have also the skills to develop a little to manage this data and to understand what is going on in our world, because it's really changing, and I think that the data are the thing that is telling us how the world is changing. So it was a really great experience, really tough, but I'm really happy to be part of Big Dive project.
Yeah, so just to give you some numbers, the McKinsey report says that in the US only roughly 200,000 data science are currently needed and will be needed in the next years, and the overall sector will require quite, say, 1 million job positions. So that's why we expect also the same here in Europe. Again, the area has not clear leaders, so it's a big, gigantic opportunity to be one of the leaders. So it would be time to be active there. I would ask Ciro and Rob to close with give possible example or some indication about what sectors might be leading or paving the way in this area in terms of concrete application that could be show the power of analyzing and getting value out of data.
It's hard to say. Probably the most successful ones are still, yet to be created. Certainly, there are a number of public agencies, governmental organizations, private bodies, companies that have hosts of data, and and the value of this data is still probably untapped. So that's a natural first step. This is already the subject area of many efforts across all over, across the entire radar. Healthcare is probably another strong target in the near future. There is a huge value proposition there in better using what we know about the behavior and health of entire populations. The public health aspect is certainly key there, but there is also a huge potential to be unleashed in personalized medicine. So both in the scale and in going down to the resolution of the individual. It would be really a long list. It's very hard to say what's coming up next. My own perspective is from the point of view of a scientist, and in science this is really a game changer, because finally you can start modeling and thinking about global processing, having access to global digital representations of the world. And this changes not so much the way we do science, but this changes the kind of questions we can ask and the kind of answers we can hope to get.
Rob?
So Palantir has been around for about 9 years, and this is much of the same. Many of the products that we use and that the world uses for data analysis have had approximately that same timeline. And as we've gone through these years, we've wandered pretty much across every industry, every kind of government agency, every kind of valuable endeavor. The common theme is whenever you have a high value question, whenever there's a crime that's been committed, whenever there's a lot of money that's been either at risk, or if there's money to be made in the finance community, anytime there's a really motivated group that really wants to solve a problem, you'll find that they have the will to solve some of the intangible problems of big data today, that they can get past the barriers because they have something at stake. So some of the biggest ones have been, for example, healthcare, optimizing treatment outcomes, trying to understand which regions, which funding regimes, which policies have led to actual success, because, of course, the goal there is an enormous improvement in lifestyle for everyone. Law enforcement, anytime there's a high-value crime, anytime there's something that you really want to get to the bottom of, law enforcement is very motivated to use data to solve crimes. Intelligence, of course, both governmental and military. Oversight about legislation or the way the government is behaving, spending, revenue. So basically the common theme is anytime you have a very high value problem, you're going to find that data is going to help you because there's just so many data sets out there. And those are the people that have the motivation to push past the barriers. I would say that the thing that stops a lot of big data value from being found and exploited really is the problem of sharing data. So currently we're still mostly working with people who have a lot of data within their legal reach, for example, agencies or government institutions, corporations that have a lot of data sets by themselves. But people find it very difficult to share. So this is contrary to our belief that data sets expand in value enormously the more they're shared, the more that you can combine them and create multiple dimensions. So the barrier to the sharing, and this is really where we're investing a lot of our energy effort in working with legislators and on the technical side, is to create extremely robust security regimes. This has to match the privacy policies of agencies, of governments around the world, of every kind of corporation that wants to share, perhaps for the world's betterment, perhaps they want to share with law enforcement, but they also can't betray their customer trust. So the ability to make the owners of these data comfortable, to make them able to say that they're doing their duty, and they're able to share with others is really to be able to give them a security system, a privacy protection system that governs the sharing of that data and allows them to feel confident. And then I think once we've really solved that at a legislation level, we'll really be able to see some magnificent combinations of agencies and companies.
Okay, so we hope to have opened a window on this sector, which is of course more than promising. It's actually already reality as far as job creation is concerned, as far as startup creation is concerned. So I thank Ciro and Rob, and I hand it over again to Alberto. Thank you all.